Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been in Gujarat on a 2 day trip where he's inaugurated many infrastructure projects. But apart from that, he has indulged into brazen political marketing of Operation Sindoor. If you look at the visuals, which have come on all the media platforms since yesterday, how there was a roadshow, he was showered petals by the family of Colonel Sofia Qureshi. There were huge cutouts of BrahMos missile. There were posters of Operation Sindoor, which goes to show that there this kind of a political marketing is for what reason I don't know. But there are several questions which apparently all the citizens of the country want to know at this point of time. Why did Prime Minister Modi choose to go to Gujarat and not to Poonch and Rajouri, which were the affected areas because of the shelling by Pakistan? Who ordered the ceasefire, and why was the ceasefire announced by Donald Trump? Why did he mediate? Why did the foreign minister inform Pakistan of the military strike on the terror camps and not on the military installations? So all these are big questions. And also another very significant question. The kind of brief which has been carried over by the multi-party delegation who are traveling across the world defending India and talking about Operation Sindoor. So, is there a dichotomy in the way Prime Minister Narendra Modi is conveying the sentiments back home and the way the multi party delegation is conveying the sentiments as far as Operation Sindoor is concerned? So, we'll try and discuss that is this political marketing of Operation Sindoor fair and just on the part of the Prime Minister, and what is the way forward now? Uh, Joining me now is a special panel. We have Professor Ajay Gudawarti from Jawaharlal Nehru University. We have S.N. Sahu, who's a columnist and political commentator. Thank you so much, Mr. Sahu, for joining. We have Vivek Deshpande, senior journalist, political commentator, who joins us from Nagpur. Thank you so much, Vivek. And I'll begin with Mr. Sahu. Mr. Sahu,
Yeah.
what do you really have to say on Prime Minister Modi's Gujarat trip? And what I'm told is that he's traveling next week to Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, where similar kind of rallies are going to be held around Operation Sindoor.
Thank you, Niluji. So, you see, Prime Minister Modi has a record of using military operations or even the martyrs of Indian Army or Indian Armed Forces for political purposes. So this is a kind of an attempt by Modi which falls into that pattern which was established in 2019. During elections, you might recall that in spite of the
I cannot hear you, sir. I cannot hear you now.
me,
Yeah, now I can hear you. Go ahead.
so the point is in 2019, in spite of the election commission issuing a direction that no votes can be, you know, voters cannot be appealed in the name of martyrs. Mr. Modi clearly stated, जो पहली बार वोट दे रहे हैं, ये पुलवामा की शहीद के नाम वोट दीजिए. He violated the election commission guidelines. So there is a penchant within Modi to use, such operations or the sacrifices of the armed forces for the political and partisan purposes. Okay, he clearly went against the EC directive and the, model code of conduct in asking for votes in the name of the martyrs. Now, in 2025, 6 years later, there is a crisis, identity crisis for Mr. Modi, because this particular operation, it has actually cornered the leadership of BJP, particularly Prime Minister, because they declared the ceasefire, or ceasefire was declared by Trump, and then they say no, the DGMO of Pakistan contacted our DGMO, therefore this has been done. And there are all kinds of interpretations, all kinds of narratives that we lost several aircrafts, we lost so and so, and therefore there was a loss of face. So in view of this, there is a countrywide revulsion against, this decision of the, the leadership of BJP to immediately, abruptly call for a ceasefire. So then why the operation is at all launched? So to overcome this crisis, which is engulfing the BJP leadership, they are trying to, desperately try to, turn the tide in their favor. So therefore, this road show. I mean, this is so callous on the part of any leader, be it prime minister or anybody. Instead of not visiting the victims of Pahalgam terror attack or the victims of selling in the Poonch area, or for that matter, even some of the soldiers have been, they have lost their lives during this operation. So instead of reaching out to them, he is trying to milk the Operation Sindoor in its own favor, in the favor of the BJP. BrahMos missile deployment of, the replica of BrahMos missile, or the Sophia Qureshi's family coming and throwing petals. And today I was hearing a, discussion in a YouTube channel. वो सोफिया कुरैशी का फैमिली को पूछा गया, आप कैसे यहाँ पहुंच गए? तो the family members ने collector ने बोला तुम आ जाओ आप लोग. So then the question is, why collector was asked to you? Who is collector to invite those fellows? I mean, the family members of Sophia Qureshi. This means it's all stage managed. This means people have been mobilized at the instance of the powers that be. So all these things clearly show that there is some kind of a desperation to, spin a narrative. It's primarily is kind
Right.
of a spinning attempt. So
Right.
therefore, I feel, I was listening to another discussion in a YouTube channel, two Bihar journalists. They were interacting with Urmiles, the eminent journalist. They were saying that यहाँ तो बीजेपी के अंदर खलबली मची है क्योंकि नथिंग इज वर्किंग. लोग पूछ रहे हैं सीज फायर क्यों किया, अगर सीज फायर किया तो फिर ऑपरेशन क्यों शुरू किया, किसको फायदा हुआ? उन्होंने कहा 3 दिन में सारे कुछ हो गया काम. 3 दिन में 4 दिन में आपने सारे टेररिस्ट के कैंप को ध्वस्त कर दिया. So this kind of image problem now is hunting Mr. Modi and particularly BJP. So instead of reaching out to the victims, they want to make a spectacle out of it. It's a kind of an event management.
Right.
See, Mr.
Okay.
Modi is always, expert in event
Right.
management. So they want to make a spectacle out of it, try to persuasively draw the attention of the entire country. But I think people have understood.
Right.
So
Okay. So you are saying that
this
the
is going
people.
to boomerang.
Right. Okay. So you are
Yeah.
saying that a spectacle is being made out of it, but people have understood. I think, Mr. Sahu, you have to go somewhere for some
Yeah,
engagement. So I'll
yeah,
let you go.
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. But I'll come to Vivek now and just flipping this question from the
So
point of
thank
view
you
of
so
what.
much.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Sahu. So Vivek, coming to you, that I'm going to spin this question the other way from the point of view of the Prime Minister. Now, Prime Minister is saying that we are celebrating the spirit of Make in India. We had our own weapons, and Pakistan had to depend on a proxy war because they knew that they didn't have the capability. And this is what is being celebrated on the streets of Gujarat, and likewise, it's going to be celebrated across the country. Now, but the other side of it, and the other ethical and the moral part of it, is that should we celebrate or market the valor of the armed forces like this? So there are two sides to it. One is a celebration of the valor of the armed forces. The other side says that this is cheap political marketing. How does the nation respond to this? Because the nation is made to believe that the Operation Sindoor has not ended. This is a continuous process, and this is a state of mind in which the nation has to continue for months, and we do not know when it's going to end.
Yeah, Nilu, I think the nation has a right to celebrate, but that celebration has to be spontaneous. In this case, this particular celebration is actually organized. I mean, celebrations in a case like, see, whenever there is an India Pakistan cricket match, and if India beats Pakistan, we see Indian supporters gathering in the main square of the city and celebrating. by bursting crackers and raising India Zindabad and Pakistan Murdabad, those kind of slogans. So if in cricket we can extempore, we can celebrate the defeat of Pakistan on the streets, then why didn't we do that when this so-called war, 3-day war ended after just 3 days of it began? So why were no celebrations there? So, and there were celebrations in Pakistan, and the celebrations were very uh, uh, they were not organized celebrations. People came out on the street on their own in Pakistan and celebrated. So there was a sense of victory there. Why was that sense of victory lacking in India? Forget about those who are not supporters of Modi, but there are supporters of Modi in crores. So why didn't they come out in the streets and celebrate it? They didn't celebrate it because they knew that there was something wrong with this operation, and it was suddenly called off for no reasons. They couldn't guess anything about the reasons. And when after a few days they realized that Mr. Modi came out and gave his speech, he used his Brahmastra of speech, and then it kind of resuscitated the whole dead lot of Modi supporters, and they came alive and they were praising Modi across the board once he gave his speech. So there was clear lack of celebration, celebratory mood when the 3-day operation ended, because the people were suspicious of what had gone out into the calling off of this so-called war. And if you see Mr. Modi's statement about Sindoor, he subsequently came out and said that mere khun mein sindoor behta hai. Sindoor flows through my blood. If you see that in isolation, you will not make sense of it. You just see that in conjunction with one of his previous statements. In the past, he had made a statement that मैं गुजराती हूँ, मेरे खून में commerce दौड़ता है. So if you see the two statements in conjunction, then you get a sense of what Mr. Modi is doing. He is doing commerce out of Sindoor, Operation Sindoor, and he clearly said that. So you have to connect the dots. Whenever Modi says whatever Modi has said in the past, whenever he says something in the present, so you connect the dots and you get a sense of it. So Mr. Modi is celebrating the so-called success of Operation Sindoor on the streets of Gujarat. He started with Gujarat, and maybe he will take it to other states of the country, because he knows how to make commerce out of it. He has himself said it, that commerce runs through his blood. So and we can always trust Mr. Modi to do that. He has done that previously, as Mr. Sahu has said, and he's doing it in the present times, and he will do it in future also. So he is basically, Mr. Modi is an event manager, as Mr. Sahu rightly called, and he knows how to exploit this. He doesn't go to Punch. He doesn't go to meet the victims of the this skirmish between India and Pakistan, because he knows that it doesn't affect his election outcome. Mr. Modi has perfected the art of delinking election outcome from the politics. So no matter how dirty politics they play, they have somehow mastered the art of winning the elections. Now, you know how they win the elections. There are a lot of manipulations in elections, which we all are aware of by now. So, whatever politics he does it only to please his target audience, and he does that successfully. The target audience is happy. You see the crowd on the streets of Gujarat when he had gone out. So there lakhs of people came out. So he knows that his target audience is happy with whatever he's doing. He doesn't care whether his
Right.
support base doesn't grow beyond 37 or 38%. That is sufficient for him to get power back. So he doesn't care for those who have raised questions about this operation. He doesn't absolutely care about that. He knows that whatever politics he is doing is sufficient to win him another election, no matter how dirty that politics, how wrong that setting of narrative is. So Mr. Modi's delinking of politics from elections makes him audacious, and because of that, he indulges in this kind of exploitation of the martyrdom of our soldiers, or the bravery of our soldiers for his own purpose, his party's success in elections. Nilu.
Right. But this is, of course, the moral and the ethical part of it, whether you should be politically marketing the Operation Sindoor or not. And but I'll come to the other part of it now. That Ajay, do you see any dichotomy in the brief which the multi-party delegations have got, that how they have to defend India, how they have to put across India's standpoint, and without taking any political credit. And all the opposition leaders are doing equal justice. Look at the speech by Dr. Shashi Tharoor, by Mr. Owaisi for that matter, Kanimori, all of them have spoken so well. But back home, what we are seeing in the way Prime Minister is conveying things to the domestic audience, do you see that there is some kind of a dichotomy? And also the fact that he's asked his own BJP leaders now to keep quiet on Operation Sindoor, but he will continue to speak and take political credit.
Yeah, so the entire dynamics, Nilu, really is about how to take credit without taking responsibility. I think two things were happening during the Operation Sindoor political narrative. That opposition at certain point had got momentum in terms of pitching the idea of accountability. Why did intelligence failure happen? Why was there no global support to Mr. Modi's Operation Sindoor campaign? I think these two things got a fair amount of traction on the ground. And Mr. Modi, to kind of divert that, suddenly put this multi-party team, which now has to go abroad and defend India and blame Pakistan. And therefore, there is no space left for these questions of accountability. That's where Rahul Gandhi recluses himself and he continues to raise this question of accountability. So I think Mr. Modi, it's very clear now that I don't think this is going to stop with merely elections, that this kind of a war atmosphere, this kind of a campaign around Operation Sindoor is here to stay now. That you can already see that they are blaming opposition leaders for having connections with Pakistan. Anyone raising any critical issue of Mr. Modi's campaign now is equated with Pakistan. So I think internal dissent, and this is an important part of autocratic rule across globe. If you look at Turkey, look at what's happening in Israel. That Israel has an internal crisis, political crisis of democracy. They scale up attack on Gaza. Similar thing you'll find it here, that there is a political crisis staring at Mr. Modi's his legitimacy. He's losing the grip of the narrative. Therefore, he will scale up this question of war. That's why they are repeatedly telling us that Operation Sindoor is not yet over, that Operation Sindoor is in continuance, and which would mean what? That nobody can raise any question. Any question that is being raised is seen as being seditious. And therefore, they are not even allowing a discussion in the parliament. No parliamentary session will be allowed on Operation Sindoor. So this is a very, not just an electoral connection, but this is also a dangerous turn for Indian democracy, that if you continuously link war with democracy, and this is going to be a long-term trend. The next step, Nilu, usually what happens is that they will start raking up the issue of internal enemies. Who are the internal enemies who are leaking information? How are terrorists coming in? Then XYZ, you can blame anybody as an internal enemy. Any social activist who's active, any social activist who's critical of the government can be blamed and said he's the one who already we are reading in paper vague cases of espionage. Somebody, Jyoti Malhotra is a spy, somebody else is a spy. In fact, they even said Rahul Gandhi is spying and giving working in tandem with Pakistan. So this kind of random criminal psychology can be mobilized on the ground. And I think this is the turn Indian democracy will now take in the last phase of Mr. Modi's regime. That he will increasingly move towards this language from external enemies was the language all through. Now he will increasingly move in terms of internal enemies, internal threats to Indian democracy and whatever, and then continuously chase all the remaining critical voices that are left in the country. And I think these road shows are preliminary momentum building, consensus building exercise, which will then move in terms of, and this is primary target of which will be opposition leaders, political leaders. I think Rahul Gandhi is one main target that they have, followed by all social activists, all critical voices, remaining whatever small media outlets. They will all be termed as internal enemies, urban Naxals. They have connections with ISI, ISI has connection with China, China has connection with these activists. And therefore, any critique against Mr. Modi will be validating Pakistan. Therefore, they are continuously saying Rahul Gandhi is asking those questions where the celebration is happening in Pakistan. This, I think, is a dangerous trend that we need to keep a watch. and try and keep people of India alert to this, decisive turn that is coming in Indian democracy. And I see this as a turn, as a shift in the remaining part of Mr. Modi's regime in the next couple of years that he has during this term.
No, but I'm just thinking for a moment, from the point of view of the prime minister again. Now, after the Lok Sabha elections, and of course, like his popularity was on the rise again when he won Maharashtra, Haryana elections, and but given the fact that this Operation Sindoor happened, now why is Prime Minister Modi now latching at this opportunity? Elections, of course, are just few months away as far as Bihar elections are concerned. But Vivek, the big question is that is this a political compulsion for Prime Minister to lap up at this opportunity and to consolidate this wave of nationalism once again, which was seen during 2019? And and had it been for any other party, probably they would have done it. Is that not the case? I mean, blaming the prime minister, of course, is very easy. I mean, I'm just thinking loud, from that perspective as well, that why BJP or prime minister is getting into this kind of a mode. Is it like a political compulsion for him to do this? And because, the RSS also has their own internal questions. BJP has their own internal questions. The situation on the ground doesn't look very right, with various questions raised as far as price rise is concerned. And I mean, those are evergreen questions; they'll always remain. But it seems that opposition was also puncturing into the narrative which was built by BJP. So, is this a smart move played by the prime minister?
No, no, Nilu, I think it's a very desperate move. It's not a smart move. See, Mr. Modi is essentially a very compulsive propaganda man. Modi has built his own persona over the years using propaganda. I mean, it doesn't have great stuff under his belt. I mean, he has not done anything great, so great as a politician, as the ruler, as chief minister, as prime minister, to kind of garner the kind of support that he gets on the basis of the work. So there's nothing on the ground to show. So what he does is basically he has done as chief minister of Gujarat, and he's doing it over the last 11 years as prime minister of India. Is basically maintaining his popularity rating using propaganda. Now, in this particular case, when Balakot happened, it immediately helped him, and people were celebrating it on their own. Here, after the 3 days, as I previously said in the last round, as I said, people were kind of taken aback at the sudden calling off of this war, and they didn't know what had happened because they were expecting India to make some big gains out of this war, as the BJP had been claiming, as the government had been claiming. Almost like people were wondering whether the government is going to take the Pakistan occupied Kashmir back. I mean, to that extent, change the whole geography of Pakistan. So that is the kind of propaganda that preceded before this 3 day skirmish ended, and eventually nothing happened. Nothing came out of it. So even his supporters were silenced by it. Even his supporters were amazed, and they were unable to make anything out of it. So to kind of galvanize his supporters into the same kind of enthusiasm which they were, he has been doing it over the years. He undertook this so-called road show in Gujarat, and he will continue to do that in other states. So it's basically because the people had were kind of nonplussed by the outcome of the 3 day skirmish, and people were wondering whether Mr. Modi had done really anything substantial in this. Mr. Modi had this compulsion to go back to the people, and he started with the speech, and now he's continuing that with his favorite tool of propaganda once again to galvanize his people into enthusiasm. So that seems to be the sole purpose. So it's not very spontaneous. It is all made up. Uh, Mr. Modi has to do this to save his political image, to save his popularity rating, because people this time were not on Mr. Modi's side of their own accord. So he has to get them on his side, and that is why this exercise of propaganda
Right.
he has undertaken. Yes.
Right. Okay, so Professor Ajay, I'll come to you for the concluding comments now that, uh, this is a political theater or a serious military operation for which, there are many answers which need still to be sought. How would you summarize it towards the end?
No, I think one has to see that that the way the campaign after one thing is to have Operation Sindoor, the attack itself, where BrahMos went deep inside, even up to 200 kilometers into Pakistan attack. But the follow-up campaign of women empowerment, it just seems to smack of electoral benefits. That why are they pitching it as some kind of a women empowerment? And why not? It's a generic loss of life, and no war is good. So I think this issue of women constituency emerging as an independent social constituency in elections in Bihar, I see a direct link that I think Bihar elections somewhere are behind his mind, and also the Assam elections that are upcoming. I think this is some way of addressing the women constituency by saying that there is women empowerment. If you're really interested in women empowerment, you should talk about women education, women employment opportunities, violence against women in our society, so on and so forth. But to equate this campaign with women empowerment. And the second you see, Nilu, as soon as there is women empowerment campaign, there's always a counter campaign. Mr.
No, but
Vijay Shah,
Ajay, do
that
you think
is,
that it's more because of the relevance and the significance of Sindoor in states like Bihar and West Bengal? West Bengal goes
well,
to elections. You call it a Sindoor belt where women wear Sindoor from their head to the nose. I've seen women wearing Sindoor like long Sindoors. So is it now? I mean, it's a BJP strategy to maybe capitalize on that vote bank. Is that what you're saying?
yes, I think women have emerged as an Indian, especially in Bihar. After the debates of prohibition and so on and so forth, women have emerged as an independent social constituency. And that's one reason why they wanted to pitch this as a women empowerment. So you can see the web that once they pitch it as women empowerment to extend to women constituency, you immediately have Mr. Vijay Shah, who thinks she's sister of a terrorist, which is again to consolidate his core communal vote bank. So this is how there's a web of narratives weaving one into the other. That you consolidate your core narrative on one end, you extend it to women narrative, women constituency on the other end, and this whip, and it is with this narrative he will go for elections, and that's why he has a series of road shows, in Gujarat, Rajasthan, then he will reach finally Bihar, and I think the last point is Neeru. I think this should elections be fought around war is a question that we should continuously put in public debate. That war is a strategic decision, it's a short-term choice. No war is good because war brings death, whether it's Pakistani common people dying, whether it's Indians, that doesn't matter. War is bad, like militancy is bad, period. Whichever kind of militancy is bad has to be shot down. Therefore, war has to be a last choice of any nation. We took this decision under compulsion because of repeated attacks by Pakistan or coming from Pakistani soil, which is good. We all are with that attack so that we find a long-term solution to militancy. But once the war is over, the army has to go back to barracks. It cannot go to the battlefield of political elections. And elections being fought around war, I think, has long-term consequences for Indian democracy. That you're sidelining issues of common people, you will sideline and clamp down on dissent, you will criminalize public debate in India. There are a whole range of consequences which will have long-term debates. I think we should take a steadfast position, and I hope Mr. Modi sees reason that he does not continue elections around the war. And it also shows that there seems to be complete lack of political imagination. That why is he forced to go around with these issues too? He can have alternative issues. I mean, maybe his popularity rating is reasonably okay, but that's what he has decided. As far as Bihar and eastern part is concerned, I think this will be the narrative with which they'll go for elections.
I'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Vivek, Professor Ajay Godavardi, for such an enlightening conversation. Thank you very much.